So I found an author from not too long back. I mean, not more than 100 years ago. Um, Bits and pieces of what he dished up are fairly insightful. The outlines are still corrupted, mind you. Case in point, if you think in terms of what people would call astrology, he's going to tell you that Neptune is associated with Pisces. It's not, and it never has been, but there was a corruption when 3 extra planets were incorporated into the bullshit model, and he played right into it. So unfortunately, it's not a clean outline across the board in terms of what he's dishing up, and most people won't recognize it for that, for the corruption that it is. So the reason I mention this is it's one of few resources, if you want to call it that touch on something that people are blissfully unaware of. It's something that dates back to some of the earlier aspects of the seminars, is one way to put it. And so what I ended up doing again today was reviewing what I typed up, and then I went to Google. And I tried to see if I could use different keyword combinations to produce results reflective of this. And they generated absolutely nothing. Now keep in mind who I'm referring to, and I used the author and I used some of the titles of the works that he left the public. Nothing. No images, no videos. No one was discussing it in the numerous fucking, feeds, Reddit and all that other crap. Nothing. What I plan to do, if I make time to do this, there's this aspect of it does have to do with astrology again, at least what people think of. You guys might have heard me talk about Chris Brennan. I'm gonna see if he has left anything online having to do with this, and just do a more thorough search through YouTube and all that other crap. It's possible. I feel like out of everybody in contemporary times, he's probably one of the best resources in terms of this that may have done it, or at least touched on aspects of it. Keep in mind, he does use some of the corrupted crap. He does dish up multiple angles, which I think is important to appreciate things so you can recognize the corrupted crap. But that's part of my to-do list, among other things. If you sat through this, thanks for hanging out. If people weren't misleading each other by example, I would just tell you what this is and I draw you a picture. But that's not the case, which is why I'm looking for people who can think for themselves and are willing to do the right thing, and most people don't understand what any of that entails because they are not, in fact, thinking for themselves, and technically they don't mean to do the right thing, but they don't realize it. They're working for our masters. As crazy as that will sound to most people who are full of assumptions. If you know anyone who has ever had their chart read and or reads charts for people online or in real life, whether they're using tarot cards or just the rudimentary, knowledge base related to and reflective of what people consider astrology today, these kids are jerking each other off, they're misleading each other, and the ones who are making money off of this are flat out fucking lying to people whether they realize it or not. They're giving them corrupted outlines that will mislead them. And most people can't recognize this for what it is. It's a great example of what I keep complaining about, but what do I always say? One too many things, right? People don't have a fucking clue what's going on. They don't have a clue what's going on. They don't have a foundation to work with, which means they're not going to recognize bullshit if they're being sold. Like, I have friends who will do readings and other shit like that, and it's wrong. It's fucking wrong, but they don't want to hear it. It's the last thing they want to be told, because nobody wants to be told that they're doing something wrong or that they are in fact wrong and what they bought into is bullshit. Now, what I'm whining about but not showing you, it's many-fold. There are facets to it. that have been purposely obscured and omitted from the public sphere, from the John Q public, from the internet and books in general, analog books. Our masters aren't terribly clever, they're not terribly bright, but their methods are effective, which I say this often enough too, because good people tend to be gullible, which means they're going to buy into damn near anything, and they're going to fall into lockstep and do what they've been trained to do, which means agendas are going to come off effortlessly for the most part, because the moral majority are going to believe in them and trust in authority and the outlines that were spoon-fed to them by the very people who are pulling their fucking strings. And this is what we see. This is what tracks. This is why things haven't gotten better. They've only gotten worse. You and I don't have shackles on, but we do have masters, and things are shit. But most people don't recognize it as such because most people aren't paying attention. These things should be self-evident. It should be absolutely, it should be clear as day, but it's clear as mud. And most people don't care. That's the other thing. Is it apathy? Either way, usually I'll say complacency got us this far. The kids today, they won't read what you leave online if it's more than a couple words, and if you don't use social engineering stickers people call emojis, and or they'll flat out tell you, I don't care. I don't care. Because they don't. Because our masters are shitting out narcissistic little brain-dead shits who are by all rights functioning retards. And they're in place to screw you and I up. It's no different than these outlines that I'm alluding to and complaining about. These things are in place to mislead, manipulate, and by degrees subjugate us. But people don't care. And people don't have eyes to see, which means they're not going to recognize it, which means they're going to repeat it. For a moment, I almost, and this is a stupid idea, but I thought about just leaving because I love the idea of transparency. That's how I started out. That's why I'm still doing what I'm doing. It's also why I don't read scripts on here. I don't do any of that shit. There's a number of canned responses, and they're almost on par with taglines that I rattle off often because our masters got us through repetition, because all repetition is programming. And all programming is what? Some of you should be able to answer these things because I've said them numerous times. Yeah. I thought about leaving my it's a corrupted version of what is it, my natal chart. I thought about putting that online, and because it is off, it's shifted, and it's not accurate, it's not dead on. It still gives you an idea, mind you, but it's not dead on, which is the problem, which means it's not efficient. It's tricky. When I hit record on here, I start thinking about the numerous facets that are working against us. And when I say certain things, I riff off of that and start thinking about all the other things. When I said things are less efficient, I had an example earlier today of just how fucking upside down and backwards things have become. Well, we could do it this way. I saw something online where there was a guy's name. I can't remember his name. Either way, it was a fella's name, and then next to it said gender, male. So I started thinking back, and I thought, well, predominantly speaking, most aren't too wishy-washy, but there are some. Hence Pat, having to do with the Saturday Night Live skit. But you got dude names and you got gal names for a reason, so you can recognize it at a blush, and it's not convoluted. It's not needlessly cumbersome. In other words, you see Mike Smith, that's a dude, and he's got a cock, and that's Mike. You don't have to put gender on there. You don't need to identify Mike as a male because Mike is a dude. That's a dude name. You wouldn't name a girl Mike. Then you got Melinda, Jones. That's a gal. Simple. You don't need to put a gender next to it because Melinda is a girl name or a girl's name. Simple. That's not how things work. This is what our masters are slowly chipping away at right now. And most people haven't been paying attention. I've joked around about this, but it's dark. So when you jump online and you're going to enter your password, it used to be login, password, same page. You jump into the thing, you've been granted access because you fulfilled the function. You jump through the fucking hoops. But now you plug in your login and it takes you to another page because it's rewiring your brain so that you don't think efficiently. You don't think of A to B. Now you're doing A to B to C to get to fucking D. And on the second page, if you're lucky, you can plug in your password and be granted access. But now, because the AI is crawling through all things connected to the Wi-Fi, electronics as it were, and this is also by design, not by coincidence, sometimes you have to punch in CAPTCHA. Or you got to find all the bridges in a 9 square and click on them. Press 1 for English, motherfuckers. What the fuck do I know?